my story of battling cancer and your story of your mother unfortunately battling cancer. And as she rests in peace, that was how we connected originally, if I remember, right?
Yep, you're correct. Yes.
And what did you think about this crazy guy that survived cancer all the way in Miami that was reaching out to you? What was your thoughts now that we're live in front of everybody right here?
Honestly, I think it was such a cool connection. We had a mutual friend that introduced us and just kind of was like, you two have to connect. And so we did. And it was an immediate connection. I think the first time we spoke on the phone, we spoke for an hour, I want to say.
Yes.
And we immediately started sharing our journey, our story, and, just dove really deep into things that we don't really discuss with just anyone.
Correct.
Right? So it was just an immediate connection, and your energy was just like, I was like, whoa, like just through the phone, right? We've never met in person.
We've never been in person. This has never been. Yeah, so I can certainly say that this is one of those connections in life that you say is divine. You say is is something a spiritual connection, because again, when you meet somebody, there's an energy about that person that you automatically get. When you have that same energy through a phone call or through just watching someone on television or something like that, it's really divine. It's really spiritual. So yeah, we met because of the Lifechanger, he calls himself, and Ryan, the Lifechanger. He made an amazing podcast. Now the podcast I did with him was absolutely amazing, but I got to listen to your podcast, and I think that was the main connection right there, because I said to you after I listened to your podcast that you were speaking my language.
You did.
That was the one thing I remember, is like almost like she was speaking my language. And that is hard for me to find someone that, through whatever experiences you have in life, are able to connect and are able to share your thoughts in such a way that's why I said it's a different language. Even though it's the same as English, we're not speaking a different, it's not Spanglish or Spanish or anything else. Now you speak other languages, right? You speak,
I speak Farsi.
Farsi. But yeah, we're not talking about that kind of language. We're talking about just regular language in English, but just the way we connected, the way we express each other, I guess. That was the best thing to say.
It's that spiritual connection, right? It's using words to connect to people's hearts. And that's the way I look at it, is that sometimes some of the words that we use, we're able to connect to a deeper part of ourselves through those words.
Absolutely.
Right? And for me, even with this conversation, I always tell myself, or in this type of situation, I want to speak from the heart and not from the mind.
Correct. And that's hard. You're a therapist, so it's a little difficult. It's right. Isn't that a little bit? It's not as easy sometimes, because you're guarded by the science part of it, the therapy part of it. My mom being a doctor, I share that with you.
Yeah.
Hey, Mom, if you're watching, I know you're watching. So we're live on Facebook and YouTube, so she's watching. But yeah, certainly she's somebody that I know for a fact sometimes to separate those things, because you're thinking from a therapist point of view, and then all of a sudden you have to come back and say, wait, hold on, we're still a human being. There's something, there's a soul, there's a spirit, there's something else that we can try to tap into, right? So our conversations were unique. The first conversations were very unique. We're trying to it's like feeling each other out,
Yeah, so true. You know what? I have to kind of go back to what you just said. We live through our mind, right?
Yeah.
We live here. And that's where a lot of good and bad can happen.
Absolutely.
Right? But we are who we are through our hearts. And that's where we need to learn, is how to go deeper within our hearts rather than just living in our mind, because a lot of times our mind tell us false stories. Right? And it's not authentic, and it's just based on the past fears and just old stories and things like that. So it's up to us as to where do we want to live, in our mind or in our heart. And that's where the journey is. And that's where you get to learn, no matter what the profession is, right? Being a therapist, being a psychologist, whatever it is, or a coach, I have to be true to who I am. Yes, my education, the scientific background of it tells me that it's the mind that we need to be able to heal. correct to an extent. It's also connecting to your heart and your soul, and that for me has happened through the life journey, what we were talking about, right? Our initial conversation, especially with my mom, of knowing that we're not just a physical body.
Correct. Absolutely.
That there's more to life than just that. And so how do we figure that out? How do we learn?
Well, and and part of it, I think both of us as coaches can relate to this, is that we always talk about you're a product of your environment. Mm-hmm. Your mind is, as a child, and I've said this a million times, if you've already heard me, please forgive me, but it's the truth. We are sponges as childs, as a kid. So we're, as a sponge, what are we soaking everything in? And unfortunately, if we're soaking a bad environment or a bad relationship, or a fact that we say love, we define love in abuse, or we define love in something else that's happening in our life, all of a sudden that trickles down all the way to adulthood, and then we have these issues, and then our mind keeps telling us these things, but yet there's this thing that's pulling you from your heart that's saying, you know what, we are not, there's something else. It's not just our mind,
Mm-hmm.
So give me one second. I just want to make sure that you look amazing on this TV. So,
I love the point that you just brought up, is that yes, the definition of love is very different for every single one of us, right? We've all had some sort of pain connected to that word. And as real as that is for us, again, it's about choice. I really believe life is about choices.
Absolutely.
Right. So, yes, love is painful for a lot of us. And it's been taught to us and embedded and kind of produced in a way for us because of the environment and the people around us, and the lessons that we have learned throughout life. But as an adult, we have a choice of changing that definition for ourselves. And it doesn't come from the outside. It doesn't come from the external world, and it comes from within. And especially in a time like this, we can so easily get lost in our external world, right?
Absolutely.
Because that's all we're soaking in is everything and everyone and all the energies. But we have a choice of going within and just saying, what do I believe?
So,
what do I want to do?
So going from there, and again, I told you this was going to be a very different interview, because I love the give and take. How do we now switch that? How do we turn that switch? In other words, how do we go from that? This is all I know, right? And give myself that extra thought. In other words, it's almost like someone from a third world country coming to the United States and be able to use a bathroom. You know what I'm saying? Something as simple as knowing that you have running water, that you have food, that you can get a piece of bread at a restaurant for free sometimes. Little things like that maybe you're not even used to. It's like culture, right? Someone that has very close-minded or someone that is not used to being hugged, or being accepted, or immediately a handshake, and then you come to a Latin, you come to Sunday dinner at a Spanish, restaurant with family or something. All of a sudden, everybody comes to you and says, "Hey, how are you?" And every single person wants to give you a hug, and you feel like, wait, like you have this fear, like this is too much, because you're not used to it. So Kahila, what can you share with us today? I think something that we can switch that mindset and give that heart and give that spirituality a chance to say, there's more. I deserve more.
Right. It's funny that you said that Persians are the same way.
Yes.
We are all touchy and huggy, and where we just love being around others. And so for me, when I moved to the States, I came from a country that was, the second you meet someone, you give them a kiss, on both cheeks, or a handshake, a hug, or whatever it is. And in the U.S., it's not as lovey-dovey and touchy, right? For me, it was the reverse of like, oh, I can't be what I was taught to be, right? The traditions that I was raised with, the cultural norms that existed in my life are no longer part of my reality.
Correct.
Right? So the piece in that was the acceptance part.
Okay.
Right? It's accepting that is what is. Right? right? In this current situation, in this life that I'm in now, it's okay that it's different from what I was used to. So I'm going to accept the change, and I'm going to figure out how to get accustomed to what is now.
Okay.
So, because a lot of times we fight
Yeah,
against change,
absolutely.
right? We hate change as human beings because it's not something that's a natural part of our mental process. But what's interesting is that change is an actual natural occurrence, right? And it's healthy. Because imagine if things didn't change and we were in a bad situation and we continued to stay in that situation, right? So
nothing ever happens, correct?
nothing ever will change.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing will ever change. Nothing
Correct.
ever happens. So, but I think the part of what really we struggle with is that we don't like change because the illusion of control comes up for us. We think we have control over our lives. And I think you and I related to that deeply in our first conversation with cancer.
Give me one second. Now you are paused. Now the audio is still going through, so you guys can listen to her. Okay, there you are. You're back. Okay, good. So yeah, I want people to see. I want people to see your beautiful face. So, so yeah, one of the things about change is that people forget that the world is going to keep changing. So either you're going to end up wanting to change, or you're going to have to change because the world changes you. And usually when the world changes you, like we are right now, this is a perfect scenario. The world is changing you right now, and you don't have any control. So imagine if you decide to make the change before anyone else changes you, and you end up going after the things you want. All of a sudden, it's an easier transition, right?
Yes.
It is, absolutely. But go ahead, talk about the control.
You know, but I think it's an illusion. I really do believe that control is an illusion that we have any sort of say as to what anything or how anything happens. And so right now, we literally have no control over what's going on.
Nothing.
No
We
control.
we can make decisions though.
Exactly.
To see
what
how we
have
can
control over is ourselves, our mind, and the way we're going to process and the way we're going to interact with our world around us.
Now, why do you think it's so difficult? See, I'm telling you, I knew I was going to love this this interview. Why do you think it's so difficult? I know I have mine, but I want people to hear your opinion and your thoughts. For people to just say it's okay to to not be as social. I mean, remember, I live in Miami Beach. This was one of the places that everyone was like hitting us, right? Everybody was telling you, oh, Miami Beach is the worst because everybody's on the beach. Because everybody decided to come here for spring break before this happened. Because we didn't really make we didn't put the shutdown until after everybody was here. So for them, it's like, I already paid the money, let me go to South Beach, right? Louisiana with Mardi Gras, same thing. People made the decision to go, right? So, but why do you think it's so hard I have my answer, but I want to hear yours. For people to understand that this could get quicker if we decide to self-isolate so we don't keep giving it back and forth to each other.
So I think there's two parts to that. We don't know what we don't know.
That's true.
Right.
We don't really have a facts on everything.
Right. And if we haven't experienced something to this extent in life, if we haven't experienced something that changes your life in an instant, right, we don't recognize the warning signs of what is happening right now in our lives, right? So for us, it just becomes that, like, this isn't real, this isn't going to happen to me, right? It will never happen to me, I'm fine. And a lot of the younger generation has that, and I know you and I have both gone through that.
I've been there. That's why I'm going to give you the answer after you're done. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so it's thinking that this isn't going to happen to me and not understanding the gravity of the seriousness of this and how it could definitely change your life in an instant, right? So it's not having an experience of it.
Correct.
Right? So then it's hard to connect with something when you don't know how it's going to feel and how it's going to turn out. And also, I think there's another part that we conspiracies going on in our world that we think this is another, excuse my language, BS thing that the government is forcing us to do, and not realizing that, honestly, probably for the first time, this is real.
Yeah, this
right?
is real.
Like, it's as simple as that. It's real. Let's just listen to what the experts are saying, and let's just lock ourselves in our homes, and so we can get through this, so we can go through life again on a normal basis, and we don't like things taken away from us. Just like, imagine a little kid, right?
I was just gonna say that. We're just like little kids right now. They're taking away but here's the thing, we can still go out. You can still drive your car. I told my mother, I said, why don't you get on your car, drive for 30 minutes and get the sunshine? Because guess what? Miami right now is amazing weather. The weather is beautiful, perfect. We have perfect weather, and we're enjoying it because hurricane season is coming. So we got to enjoy it. But I told my mother, take a 30-minute drive, get the sunshine, and that's it. And you don't have to stop anywhere. Just get that drive in and just do something different. But I think, go ahead, keep going.
But I do like what you just said, is that it's having the willingness to do something different than the normal that we're used to, right? We don't like losing the sense of what we thought was normal, right? Losing, and we just did. All of us have to redefine what normal means to us now.
Yeah. Because
what used to be normal will never exist again.
It's very true. And I look back and I think you're probably the perfect person to talk about this. I go back to, this generation of kids, high school, most likely will not get a graduation. These are the kids that were born from 9/11.
Yeah.
They've gone through 9/11. They've gone through, other crises. The Ebola crisis wasn't as hard here, but certain generations and certain families have gone through that stuff. Other things that we've gone through in the last 18 years, last 2 decades, 19 years, 2 decades, and now they're all of a sudden. I mean, you got these. We canceled. All these tournaments for basketball and football and all these things have been canceled, and kids don't understand that. Kids are like, we've never experienced that. And there's something that tells me that this generation, as people think they're lost, they're going to be one of the strongest generations, I think, in history, because of the birth of, remember, we changed a lot after 9/11. As a country, as a human beings, right? Now we're changing a lot through this experience and through all these experiences we've gone through in the last 2 decades. And these kids, and they got the shootings at the schools, and these kids have gone through so much. And one of the things that my foundation is for children with cancer. I love kids. I love going to schools. I was a keynote speaker for the mega student conference, and they canceled it. I'm bummed. That was 1,600 students. That was going to be April 21st. So I tell you, I pray for this generation, but I know that I feel like they're going to be very, very strong coming out of it. But right now, we have to somehow give them comfort. We have to somehow let them know it's going to be okay. For me, I like what you talked about. For me, it was going back to cancer. When I went through cancer, a lot of people didn't really take cancer seriously. Now, when I walk into a room and I say to 100 kids, how many of you have witnessed cancer or someone in your family with cancer? 99, I will never say 100%, but 99% of the room will raise their hand.
Yeah.
And so for me, I've been in isolation. I know what it is. If I get sick, I could die. I know that my immune system, I know what all that is. So for me, when I listen to these people in the hospital or friends of mine telling me I can't move, my chest is hurting, my throat is locked, I know what that feels like. And I'm like, I don't want to go through that again. And I was like, so again, for me, I get it like this. Like, you don't have to tell me twice. I know I have to cancel my events. I know I have to do a lot of stuff, and it's okay. And that's why I built a studio in my apartment, because I still want to do what I feel I'm supposed to do on earth. But again, that is one of the things for me. It's just like a perfect switch, because I know what it means. There's enough people are going to die where people are going to do the same thing and say, okay, I get it. You're right. I'm going to do this. I'm not going to do this. You know, I think that's what we're getting to. Unfortunately, how many people have to die, right, for us to get it?
Absolutely. Exactly. And so that's exactly it, is that relatability factor. If you don't relate to the emotions, to the consequences of what is, it doesn't make sense to us, right? Because we don't know how it feels. You know exactly how it feels, because at the end of the day, everything that you just said, there's emotions connected to it.
Yeah, and personal emotions, not from other people, but my own. Correct.
Exactly. It's your own personal emotions and experience, and that is so valid. And that's what I feel like us human beings sometimes need, almost like get hit over the head with some serious emotions to understand what is, right? And so, and it's also the concept of, sorry, go ahead.
No, you know, when you're listening to you, and there was something that came up. I wasn't going to even touch it today because I know we're going to do some stuff together, and I know actually I have an announcement that I'll make later, and I'm going to have you come in on. I'm going back to the radio, and I'm going to have you come in as one of my guests. But here's the thing about it is that, you know, something that really affected me today. For some reason, you know, I wake up every morning and I pray. I say, God, you know, what can I do for people? Bring people into my life, and you know, and I listen to people like, what about these people right now that their loved ones are dying and they are not able to give them the proper funeral, the proper sending. They're not even able to celebrate their life, and it affected me today so much because and I know it probably affects you the same way because I got a chance to, even though my father had passed away, and I drove overnight to the hospital while he was he was still on a machine, but I was able to talk to my father and say to my father everything that he meant to me at that moment before the plug had to be pulled so his body could rest, but I knew his spirit was already gone. But yet I always, when I go to hospitals or a hospice and I see people in comas, or I see people that they're not able to talk or communicate, and I tell their loved ones, do me a favor and tell whoever, whatever, the body that's there, be able to talk to that body, be able to share. In other words, have closure. And it's funny because, I'm not saying funny, haha, but you know what I mean. When my father, is September from 2018, when he passed away, the funerals to me were so closure for me in terms of knowing that we were celebrating the life of my father in a military way and in a church way, and it was a beautiful thing. Now, today, people are dying in Italy, and they're not getting a funeral. They're not getting a celebration of their lives. People are dying in Europe and now in the United States. You know what I'm saying? How is, you know, so as a therapist, now I'm going to be a licensed therapist. You know, because people say I'm not licensed. My mom's a doctor in the family. But, you know, what other ways can you share with us how we can help those that are losing loved ones right now cope with it and be able to have some kind of closure? Because remember, we know that the body is just a cell, you know, it's a shell. We know our spirit is bigger than this. We know that, and we believe in that, but still we want closure, right? We want to say our goodbyes. What other advice could you give us for those that are losing people today?
This is such a tough one.
I know it is, but that's why I'm doing it, because coming from you is very powerful.
Thank you for being so vulnerable right now, by the way. I think that was so powerful for everyone to connect to. So I appreciate it. And, you know, it definitely brought me back to the moment that I was with my mom for her last breath. And I think another piece to what you said is that people are actually dying alone.
Oh, correct.
Right?
Yes.
And so to not have your loved one there with you, you know, I've even told my brother this, that I've been thinking a lot about mom during this time, because I think I'm thinking about it in a way that, what if she died by herself in the room, scared, all alone, because we don't know, you know, what is on the other side for us, what's waiting for us. Right, so that thought has come up, and I say it's challenging because, so there's the part of way. Let me pause for a second, and I'll share my thoughts in this way. For me, there was a sense of closure in a way that I was there with my mom before she took her last breath, right? And I say it's closure because I really think of it as being honored. I really do feel so honored to have been there with someone when they're transitioning.
Correct.
And I'm gonna cry.
It's okay. We're helping people. Remember, we're helping people. This is if one person is listening to this right now and it's making a difference in your life, this is why we're doing it. So
exactly, yeah. And so, the loss of losing someone, it's hard to find closure in it because our mind is going to continue to look for answers and for logical responses and how to make sense of it and how to figure out, we have all these questions.
But you said it, the mind. You said it.
Exactly.
Yes.
But then we feel it. We know that we're not just a body. We know that there's a spirit. We know that we get to connect with whoever that's gone on and they're still with us. Right? And that's the spiritual side, and the hope is that that we've developed some sort of spiritual connection. It's not about God. It's not about religion. It's just there's a higher power. There's
Correct.
something that we can't explain. And that's what we're talking about, is that connection, that heart and soul connection that we all have, and it's tapping into that. So for me, it's hard to say that people in this time right now are going to be able to find closure, and I'm going to be really honest with that.
Correct.
I don't think closure is going to happen for them for a very long time.
Unfortunately, yes. I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, and that's reality of it, and what I want to say to people is that it's okay for you to have so many emotions come up and so many questions and be angry and be frustrated and not understand why, right? It's okay to be there.
Absolutely, and I went through that.
Emotions.
I went through that.
Feel
Absolutely.
them all, because if you don't feel them, they're gonna become something else, right? Imagine it as this and I say this word on purpose, but imagine it as like a little monster that if you don't pay attention to it, it's gonna continue to grow.
Correct.
So what I want people to do is, instead of thinking of how do I find closure, is how do I give attention to my emotions? How do I give attention to whatever that I'm feeling, whether it's anger, whether it's pure sadness, whether it's just, whatever it is, whatever you're feeling, experience it and let it be there with you, let it exist with you.
Correct.
And figure out, once you've processed it, figure out, okay, how do I move past this?
And that's the thing that comes up, is the process. This is a process. Everything in life is a process. People celebrate. When I go to, I always use this as an example when I go speak, and I said, 10 years cancer free, 12 years cancer free. I'll be 13 years cancer free. First thing people do is applaud. And I say, why is it that you applaud? It's because you understand now the difficulty of actually overcoming such a challenge. And most people don't even know the challenge that I face. They just think cancer, right? Now, but that's the interesting thing. What I love, as I'm writing my book now, I'm actually going back to editing it and stuff like that. It's really about the process. It's never been about the beginning or the end. Yes, I had 29 years of perfect life in terms of perfect health, and I barely ever got sick. Then all of a sudden I go through 2 battles with cancer, and I go through death sentence after death sentence. And then now I've had this amazing bonus life for 13 years. And I look at my life, okay, well, yeah, but there was a process. And because of that process, I am able to be grateful for every day. Like, people say, how could you be the way you are? Is it because you didn't go through what I went through? But I promise you, you went through something. We all have. Let me break it down to you. You're not perfect. You've all gone through something, but if you don't acknowledge it, I love that you said that. If you don't acknowledge your feelings, if you don't listen, I acknowledge when I was angry at God. I acknowledge when I was asking God why. I acknowledge the fact that I went through depression. I acknowledge when my relationships were ending or something. Everything has a process, and if you start acknowledging those things, you can get through it, I think, quicker, or at least you can get understanding on it. So, well, I think that was the deep part of this interview so far. So, but let's go to what I really, I mean, this was amazing, and we're going to have to do this again for sure. But, so let's talk about Kahila now for what this show is about, really. But I don't get this opportunity all the time, so this is why, and I hope that this touched people today in a way. So tell me a little bit about how your life changed through this. I mean, as a therapist and as a human being, how's this changed you?
It's interesting because I have the perspective, I've developed the perspective of everything happens for a reason.
Yes.
And now something that's presented to me, what's my choice? How do I recreate and revamp my life? So right now I'm actually going back into my own practice because I've been doing other work in the field, and so I'm now going back into my own practice and really kind of revamping my purpose, because I know it's to be, and I solely work with women now. I've done a lot of work in the field, in the mental hospitals, working with children, suicidal teens. I've done quite a bit in my field, and the reason why I turned into coaching was because for me it allowed me more freedom to work with more people.
Correct.
And my heart is with the female community.
So is mine.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, my mission is to help them, just really rewrite the stories that we've been told by society and cultural norms. Being a Persian American woman, I have two different cultures, right? I come from the Persian culture, which has a lot of restrictions, yet freedoms. They just look different from the American lifestyle. And so for me, I don't believe in being limited to things because I'm a woman, right? And I will tell you this, I've done a talk about who am I if I didn't make these choices in my life, and two of those things are, who am I if I am not the first person in my entire family, generations and generations, that's ever gotten a divorce, right? Who am I if I didn't leave the traditional practice of being a therapist and now doing more coaching and doing more speaking gigs, right? So I am leaving those traditional norms and really redefining life based on my own values.
Amen.
And so that's what I'm creating. That's the platform, that's a course that I'm creating for other females to be able to say, hey, that's what I want to do too. How do I get there?
Amen.
Because
sounds good.
It's been a work. It's been a work in progress.
Yeah.
It's still a work in progress for me. And for me, it was, some tremendous, really traumatic events in my life that's led me to this place. And you and I have talked about it. Losing my mom was one of the most devastating things that happened to me in life. And I could have crumbled. And I could have used that as an excuse as to why, I'm limited to this and that and that. And I consciously chose to have that be the thing that not only changes my life, but it's the platform, it's the foundation that helps other people's lives change as well. Because we don't need to live in misery. We don't need to be, always sad and depressed, or we don't owe anything to our minds. That's what I want to say, honestly. At the end of the day, we don't need anything to our old stories, those old systems of belief, those old, the concepts that we have been taught. And this is what the current situation is teaching us, is the old concepts that we used to hang on to.
Correct.
We don't need them.
But you remember that, and as Kahila's talking, by the way, if you're just joining us on Instagram, this is Kahila. We are from San Diego to Miami. We're doing this amazing interview right now. She's a therapist and a coach and a writer and a speaker. The one thing I would say about that is the fact that you just said it is the mind. So again, we are the ones that put things in our mind to begin with. So we're the ones that either give them power or don't give them power. So remember that. Again, everything that's in your mind is a learned behavior. Am I correct?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a learned experience, it's a learned behavior. It's something that you've actually had to learn or be present in for you to even have that memory, for you to have that thing, right? There's cultures that to them, death is a celebration 100%. They don't even have anything else. Why? Because they were prepared that way. For us, that's not how it is. It's funny how we celebrate a birth and we understand the concept of a birth, right? Or a rebirth, but we still don't understand why is it that we get so sad or upset when someone dies when we know that we're all supposed to go there, right? But yet we still have that mindset that's telling us something different. But yeah, congratulations on, of course, the work that you're doing. And I know we've spoken about doing a lot of projects together. I promise, I still believe in that. At some point we'll get together and see what God has planned. I would say, with me has been most of my clients, I've told you, most of my women, my female clients have gone through abuse. Over 60% of my clients, when I did a case study on my clients, had gone through abuse. And that's what touched my heart in a way where I said, okay, I have to do something about this, even though I'm a guy, stuff like that. So I started the seminars 4 years ago. Now I have the conference. But that was the thing that touched me. It was the abuse that they had gone through, and most of it was it was just something that they had no control over. Some things they do, they're staying in that relationship, right? So for us, we have some things in common for sure, but the youth, the suicide rate, all that stuff, I commend you for all that you're doing. So this process for you has been of rebirth a little bit and just kind of starting something new, right?
Yes, definitely. And how do I learn? How do I help myself grow as a person, as a professional, and as someone who wants to contribute to this world, right? How do I help myself? How do I teach myself to go through another hurdle, right? And so what do I learn from it so I can start teaching that back to our community?
Absolutely.
Right? Because this is uncharted territory for me too, right? I am a social butterfly. I love people. I love being connected with someone like me, and I live by myself. And so being in my home without my family, without friends, obviously there's FaceTime and all that.
Thank God for technology.
I know, seriously. But at the same time, it's not the same for me because I am that touchy-feely person. I love being around people and making them laugh and smile. So it's being able to accept what is again, right? And not be like, oh my God, I'm going to lose my mind because we're all stuck at home. Yes, there's definitely moments where I'm like, whew, take a deep breath, it's going to be okay, right? So again, for me, I've turned all of that energy of being frustrated and, having the fear of unknown, and have turned it into what can I learn? Let me read more, let me create more, let me tap into different parts of me that normally we've all had the excuses of I'm too busy to do that.
Correct.
Right?
Absolutely.
Because I don't have time for that.
Mm-hmm.
So
now you have time. Now you have more than time.
Now we got time.
So we have gone way over, but it's okay because I truly know that this message is going to be amazing for someone. But the final question is, if there is a word that you can put in there's a word that is just every day is in your mind, in your heart, that can give people hope or helps you go through your day. With me, I have a few of them. They've already mentioned my favorites, which is consistency and obedience and being grateful. They've already mentioned that, a lot of my other interviewees. But what word comes up in your mind that you can share with us today?
I'm going to say belief.
Belief.
And That's not connected to, again, religion or anything like
Sure.
that. It's about your internal belief system. And
Okay.
it's about what language you're using when you're talking to yourself, what stories you're telling yourself right now, right? What kind of belief system are you developing in your own world, right? Because we know facts of what is COVID-19 right now.
Sure.
And we also have a belief system within us that says, like, for example, for me, is that I know that my mind will really heal my body, right? And you've gone through this yourself.
Yes.
So for me, it's a belief of knowing that I have control over how I process things and how I interact with the world around me. So it's just all about belief for me.
Amen. I love that word, of course. And to add to that, when I think of belief, you remember believing in something is you could be believing in something very negative. You can be believing in something positive. Again, it goes down to choices and decisions, right? So that word can mean very different for many people. Right now, there's people that are believing I can't get out of this, right? Yeah. I can't pay my rent. I can't get food. I can't. So again, they can believe that because it's real to them. But I guess what we're trying to share with you today is, try to change that belief into, in my mind, I just don't see the impossible. I believe that the word impossible doesn't exist until I make it possible to become impossible. And if you know anything about my story, you'll know that I talk about that all the time, is that every doctor in the country said I'm not going to live. And yet I said God was going to heal me. Now, when I say God was going to heal me, there's a whole process there I can share with you another time. But for sure, there's a relationship that I have with God to believe that was going to be healed. And then I have to speak it and believe in it. Because if I don't believe in my own words, nothing is there. I can promise you Yeah, go ahead.
Can I add something real quick?
Amen. Yeah, anytime.
Something that, as you were talking, what came up is belief can also be related to resiliency, right? Because we've all gotten through a hurdle before. We've all gone through something that we thought was never going to end. So it's believing that, it's connecting to our own strengths of believing that I will get through this too. This might seem impossible right now. Yes, I might be scared of losing my home and not being able to feed my family or whatever the case is, but I believe in myself and I believe that I'm going to get through this again.
Amen.
Because I've done it before.
And I will add even to that, remember I used to tell to kids when they were going to college, I used to say, well, listen, you remember that test in junior high? You remember that girl that broke your heart? You remember that you didn't think you were going to graduate, and then you ended up graduating. But here's the thing: how many times in your life have you said to yourself, "This is it. I'm done. I'm never going to do this. I'm dying. I'm this or whatever." There's plenty of times that you've said that in your lifetime, but yet you're still here listening. If you're listening to our voice, you're still here. So my prayer for you is that believe that this too shall pass. And with the decisions that you make and the choices that you make are going to be the result of how easy you make it through this or how hard you make it to your own self while you're going through this. Again, I hope that this has been an amazing time for you. I hope that, Kahila and myself have come to your home and somehow giving you some kind of ounce of hope that, listen, this too shall pass, and nothing that we've gone through in life there's always a purpose, and it's never permanent. And the purpose is always to grow. I truly believe we're still in school. Every year we're just graduating to another level of how to become better human beings, maybe. As the planet is healing, are you healing? And here's the other thing I would say to you. Kahila will tell you the same thing. You're not alone. There's plenty of services out there. There's plenty of people you can call to. Right now with Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, you can probably reach out to almost anybody. Reach out to people if you feel alone. Or reach out to us. We're available. Absolutely. And again, with that note, like I always say, find hope, have faith, and live every day with purpose. This is Life Changes for Life. My guest, Kahila, all the way from San Diego. Thank you for your time today. May God continue to bless you in everything you do. And until next time, I'll see you guys soon. Take care. say that I'm actually going to be talking or speaking with a two-time cancer survivor. Yes, I know I'm a two-time cancer survivor, but today Amanda is a two-time